Hi everyone, over on the Facebook page today for the daily draw, I drew Pearls of Wisdom from the Messenger cards, and I wanted to just kind of talk about this card a little bit more because I think the message that is coming through with Raven in this card is one that feels really, really important right now, I guess. And I also wanted to go a little more in depth with what it means to let go of a story that we've attached to for ourselves. Because this can be an important part of what some of us would call shadow work, but it's definitely an important part of self-love and self-care. And in many ways, we don't even realize how attached we've become to our own story. And the beauty of a card like this showing up for us is that it is actually possible to let go of a story, especially one that is creating a pattern that we keep repeating because we're stuck in our identity in the story. So I think the most important thing that comes up with this card is that we give ourselves the grace to stop and to really listen and experience listen to ourselves, but also experience the feelings that are going on in the body. In the guidebook, Sandra talks about how we can become almost addicted to experiencing a certain feeling in relation to a story that we're very comfortable with for ourselves. And the way that we shift this, the way that we are able to stop repeating things that we no longer wish to repeat in our life experience, is first of all by being present enough in our body to understand that we've kind of hit repeat and we're just going over and over a habitual pattern for ourselves in a certain way of reacting or experiencing a story. And so the first way that we can explore releasing something that's ready to be released in this regard is by being present to the emotions in the body and seeing how, and experiencing how we become stuck in those emotions, and then keep repeating something over and over again. And we'll find that a lot of times this is very unconscious for us, which is why being grounded in the body is key and important. And so when you are feeling that Pearls of Wisdom is showing up with a message for you, or maybe it's the Hermit that's showing up in tarot, or the Lovers that are showing up in tarot, even the Five of Pentacles or the Five of Cups that might be showing up. Being present and grounded in the body is the first gift we can give ourselves, even just through the experience. So let's say that you've really been working hard on So let's say that we've been working with opening up to releasing a story which we've really become attached to, our victimhood in the story. We might find that in subtle ways we can see the more that we become present in the body and aware of the emotions and the thought patterns that keep repeating for ourselves, we can kind of experience, while we're in the middle of the experience, we can bring awareness to the way that we keep repeating certain beliefs for ourselves. So let's say we're really attached to victimhood and that that we've been taken advantage of, that others are taking advantage of us. Once we start to become present in the body and aware of these habitual experiences and habitual patterns, we'll find that you can tune into when they show up. So let's say someone is texting you, or they're calling you, or whatever. You automatically go into, perhaps because of past experiences with this person or whatever, a storyline that involves someone taking advantage of you, taking time away from you, trying to put a guilt spin on you so that you'll do whatever it is that they want you to do. You can see how in your thought pattern, and because of this story you've created for yourself, you're already preparing yourself, once you answer that phone or answer that text, to have that experience. You're setting yourself up to continue to repeat the story of victimhood, or in this case, the case of this example, martyrdom. So the beautiful thing about this is that the awareness of when we step into these patterns is a huge part in releasing it. So Pearls of Wisdom is really telling us that we're bringing awareness to when we are repeating a story for ourselves, by being grounded in our body and holding space for ourselves, by being aware of when we are bringing up the emotion, right, which could be anxiety, stress, fear, that allows us to keep repeating this story for ourselves mentally. So we're bringing the awareness to the body and being grounded. And then we're holding space for the experience. So first of all, it's just catching ourselves in that and just honoring that. Wow, okay, I see that I just set myself up for this experience. And a huge part of this is lovingly looking at this aspect of ourself in the face. So this part of ourself that wants to keep justifying and repeating this story for ourselves so that we can identify with ourselves as being the victim, right? This is a role that we're continuously playing through our experiences. A huge part of releasing this is by honoring and acknowledging that this is something that we are choosing to repeat for ourselves. And there does not need to be judgment attached to this. This isn't about coming down on ourselves or being hard on ourselves or punishing ourselves. This is simply about bringing an awareness to and an honoring to a story that we keep repeating for ourselves. Then once we do that, we can gently and kindly love ourselves through the experience. So it's almost a reaching in from a source perspective, right? And a reaching in and a holding a hand of the inner being that's really addicted to creating this kind of chemical experience in the body for us. And so it's a real like reaching in and holding of a hand, or even just a support of this being, right, ourselves and our body through the experience. And as we start to do that, you'll find that because you release the resistance to wanting to create the story, and not wanting to create the story, and yet here you are continuously creating the story through the resistance, through the fear, which your body becomes addicted to the chemical release that happens with all of this, through a loving holding space and an offering of compassion and grace and understanding of our body going through this experience, of our being learning from this experience. We're then able to gently release these patterns. And then we stop being defined by a story that's become very comfortable for us and allows us to feel very safe in our experience. And so for all of us, there is a story that we're attached to, whether we're aware of it or not, myself included in that. And so this card, Pearls of Wisdom, is really encouraging us to be able to lovingly release that by acknowledging and being present with ourselves through the telling of the story. There's something about just saying, I see you through this experience that really allows us to kind of release a resistance, because we don't want to look at how we are actually creating our experience, right? Because that's unconsciously scary for us, because then we have to understand that we're actually in charge of this experience. And then we have to step into our power, which is frightening for us. At an unconscious level, it can be frightening, and that comes up for all of us. So there's a real power and strength with the card Pearls of Wisdom that's encouraging us to just be present and to love ourselves through the experience, through the acknowledgement, the awareness, and the love, and also the questioning, a loving and gentle questioning of, I can see that I'm really setting myself up for this experience to continue to repeat this. Do I really have to believe that that's always true? And so you see it's a releasing of not just a chemical addiction, an emotional addiction in the body, but it's also a releasing of, yes, a mental thought pattern, but also a belief that we've maybe chosen to take on. So we could say maybe perhaps we witnessed this a lot in childhood. Perhaps a key figure for us, maybe our mom, was really attached to always being a martyr, or that she would always have to continuously give over of herself in order to be a good person. And so as adults, we've kind of unconsciously taken on that pattern in order to be thought of within internally as a good person. So you can see how through love, awareness, compassion, grace, we can start in a gentle questioning. We can start to shift these thought patterns that become stuck for us. And the beauty of this is that it does not have to be painful. And there will definitely be times when we can see that perhaps we're shifting back into this perspective. And then all we have to do is bring that awareness, that love, that gentle questioning and support back into the fold for ourselves. And so while things like shadow work or this kind of soul searching can feel frightening for us at times or can seem scary, especially when we start to step into it, it's actually deeply empowering because it's encouraging us to step out of a box that's become perhaps very comfortable for us, again, whether we're consciously aware of that or not, and really step into a space of empowerment. You know, it's interesting, I've had some kind of fascinating comments going on that I've been sitting with on the Facebook page for Artist Ellen Moon, and also on this channel a little bit of it's like a kind of a pushback against self-care and awareness of our stories and shadow work and things like that that I talk about a lot on the channel, and a lot of other healers in the community talk about as well. And there's been kind of an interesting few comments that I've heard, you know, saying that this is actually selfishness, and that if you want to do good in the world, you have to give of yourself to others. Kind of speaking of martyrdom there in those comments. And I would say to all of us, you know, wherever we are, because everything is shifting, there's a really big experiential shift. So part of this shift that's happening, how we step into affecting positive change for ourselves, but also for the experience of others being separate from us, because in reality we're all source, right? If you choose to look at it that way. The way that we best show up and support and take care of others is by being very, very involved in our own healing, because you have to look within before the outer, what seems to be separate from us can be healed as well. The healing, not just of self, but of others, of planet, of of galaxy, of whatever you want to say, of dimension, happens when the being within is healed, right? So it might seem like it's selfish to invest the amount of time that shadow work calls for, or that a spirituality that incorporates the Hierophant in a balanced state, which is really when you are in charge of your spirituality. It might seem selfish to spend that much time working on your experience, your reality, your spiritual path, who you are. It might seem selfish to say, you know what, this doesn't feel authentic for me, to accept a life that doesn't feel good. And it could seem selfish to say, no, I'm not going to be a cog in the wheel anymore. I'm going to step out on my own path and follow my own direction and forge my own journey. But it's actually the most loving thing that you can do for the rest of humanity and for all creation. Because through that fearlessness and that care and love and devotion, first on the inner realm, then we can open up and it spreads to the outer realm. As you heal yourself, everything else shifts. It's all vibrational. So as this vibration changes, right, heart out, all the other vibrations change as well. And I think Pearls of Wisdom, this card brought up a lot of this for me today, and I've really been sitting and thinking with this, the energy of this card with Raven today with this. And you know, for me, I had a very powerful message today. I was driving my son to the doctor's for a checkup, and it was pouring rain, and I looked over, and there were, as I was driving, there were 6 vultures in a dead tree. 6 turkey vultures, because that's the type of vulture that's here in New England. And this was a very, very powerful message for me. And there can be times when we all feel lost on our path, or feel like we're struggling a little bit and not sure if the way we've been going is the way to go forwards. But for me, that was a really powerful message, that this is such an important time, and that being true to my path allows others to be true to their path too. And so it's all connected, and the gateways are there, and we assist each other through the gateways. And by assisting each other through the gateways, we allow Source, Great Spirit, God, Goddess, we allow the divine to experience the expansion that has led to us all being in an experience of individual separate body. So I think today is an important day to honor, for this channel, for my work, the validity of shadow work, of self-care, of following your own path, and of trusting internal guidance, of listening to spirit and allowing that to be your guidance, and not needing to step into stories that just don't work anymore. So I think the message in this card is very powerful and really deep, in a way that I felt, the daily draw aspect was beautiful with this card, but also I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit more with everybody about, people that are drawn to the channel, about the importance of the message with Pearls of Wisdom, and the importance of the message of working with Raven and Crow, of working with Vulture, other creatures who hold the space between realms, who are spirit animals, spirit guidance of death and rebirth. There is a collective experience in that it's through an honoring and an exploration of the personal that we honor and explore the collective as well, right? So it's as above, so below. And it's a really powerful experience of that when we're open to it. And it's beautiful to understand that although it can feel very frightening to take the responsibility for your path, for your experience, for your responses, there is a beautiful freedom and empowerment that comes from that. That is, at least in my experience, above and beyond worth the renegade aspect of choosing your own path. So if you are a sacred rebel, as Lana Fairchild would say, a fearless warrior or warrioress, and even if you're new to stepping into this path and this journey and things might seem a little murky, allow yourself to be grounded in your body and in your experience, and love yourself and love all others enough to hold space for yourself. It's vitally important. And that kind of leads me to another aspect that I wanted to talk about in our time together. And that is this aspect of holding space. I talk about it a lot. I think a lot of other wise men and women who hold the space, whether it be through their channels or through their healing work or whatever it is, will say that a holding of space is a vital part of the work that we all do. And that phrase itself can be confusing, especially when you're first stepping onto this path. Like, what is holding space? And I would offer that holding space is essential, and it's really the core of what we do in work that is focused on spirituality and healing, a bringing in of balance in the experience. And a holding of space is really an honoring and a seeing. And I think if you want to connect with this through a goddess, we're really talking about Kuan Yin's energy here. Of course, each goddess holds space in her own way, but the unconditionally loving holding of space that Kuan Yin has offered and offers to all of us, is my experience of what comes closest to this holding of space in its purest form. And a holding of space is a complete presence and seeing of the other individual or yourself, if we're doing shadow work like we just talked about, or through any moment of any day, holding space for yourself is possible. A holding of space is really a very transcendence and a holding of space. Maybe transmutation is a better word. So it's a complete presence and awareness of the other being or yourself, and an unconditional holding of that awareness that is without judgment. And this is a key part of stepping into any type of healing work, if we want to use that word healing. I've been sitting with that word a lot lately and exploring just what does healing mean, but I'm going to use that word for the time being. So in this space that you are holding, the other person is completely seen and heard and understood, and it is without judgment. And when I watch people do this, and when I step into this space myself, it's really, really beautiful, because you can feel the shift from like, okay, I'm Racine, I'm listening to you tell me a story, to, okay, this is source perspective, and I am completely present with this person, and there's no judgment to anything that they need to share, or any experience they need to talk about or release. And to me, that holding of space is the most important aspect of the work. Because once we step into a defining and a judgment, we are then stepping right out of sacred space, and we're not able to be a conduit for the information that needs to come forward, whether we're offering that through a tarot reading, an oracle card reading, a Reiki session, an energy session, a channeling session, a medium session, whatever we want to call the work that we're doing. Once we step out of that space of connection, as above, so below again, like connection to source, connection to earth, connection to the elements, connection to the being, connection to the body, and we step into a judgmental space, or a space where we're trying to change something so we can hear something a certain way and then define it for the other person, we step out of that space where there is no judgment and everything is pure potential and pure creation. Yes, a bit. Yeah, pure creation as well. So there is a deep value to holding of space that, to me, is more important than any words that could be spoken in a session. It's a real expression of awareness, of unconditional love, and of a complete lack of judgment. And it's deeply powerful. And so if you're someone who's offered a session or experienced a session and felt this, you'll understand what I'm saying, because it's very powerful when you are either holding space or experiencing space being held for you in this way. And each and every one of us can offer this to another person, and most importantly, we can offer it to ourselves. And it is essential that we do that, because it's very easy to experience a polarity of right and wrong. Again, it feels very safe to say, I know that this is so, and I know that this is so. But once we let go of that, anything can happen. And it's a very, very freeing space as well. But it can also be scary. But there is a real beauty in experiencing a holding of space, and a holding of space yourself as well, because you're simultaneously experiencing both energies. And also, the deeper that you go on your path, the more that you hold that space for yourself, and offer yourself forgiveness and love, and forgiveness and love, and offer others through offering yourself forgiveness and love, forgiveness and love, forgiveness and love, you start to see that there really aren't any right and wrongs. There might be a vibration or an experience that you choose not to explore because it doesn't feed your soul. But you start to see that from each person's perspective, right and wrong is a very personal thing. And really, at its core, it doesn't really exist. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't boundaries or that violations can occur, but a holding of space allows for someone to really be and feel and experience being heard and being seen and being loved, no matter what the story is. And again, like we said earlier with Pearls of Wisdom, it is through that love, unconditional acceptance, that we release resistance, which is keeping us stuck in patterns that we no longer want to be in anymore. And so I wanted to talk about holding space. I've been wanting to do it on the channel for a little while because it's essential to me and my experience of healing work and being a healer. It's an essential part of the path. And it is something that I think we kind of lose sight of at times. And we really want it to be about like the big bang of a session, or we really want it to be about like what we can offer. And there is that aspect of what we can bring to the table as a healer for each of our clients. But really at the end of the day, the core of the work is love and empowerment and awareness, and holding of space allows that to happen. So if you're new to offering healing work and it's something you really feel called in your soul to do, I would offer to you that the most important thing you can do in your work is to listen. It's to listen. It's to sit with someone and just be with them. So much more important than having all 78 cards memorized, or having every spread in the book that there is memorized, or writing a compendium of, whatever sessions it is that you're going to offer and having a script and following a da-da-da-da-da, or having a certain amount of followers or so many likes or whatever it is. The most important thing that happens in the work is that holding of space. And it is deeply fulfilling as well. And it changes you as you allow the other to experience the love of the divine in a way that maybe for themselves they just haven't been able to offer themselves. A level of unconditional love that they haven't been able to open up to completely. And it's deeply, deeply powerful, deeply impactful, and it does shift things so quickly. And it shifts you as well as the person holding the space. So I did want to talk about that a little bit, and I don't know if you guys have more questions or you want to talk about that more deeply, I'd be happy to make another video. And I know a lot of you have asked me to do videos on shadow work, and I feel like there are some really, really great videos that are already out there. Kellyanne Maddox has awesome videos on shadow work. Teal Swan is another person who offers a lot of actual exercises for shadow work that are really, really powerful. My favorite way to really step into shadow work is through the cards, especially tarot. I think it's very supportive of that process, and really kind of puts in front of your face maybe aspects of the self that you haven't wanted to look at. So I'm sitting with that, guys. I know I've had actually quite a few requests recently, but I think there's already some really awesome information out there, and really impactful information that I've certainly found helpful in my course too. But always, to me, the deepest healing comes from when we really hold space for ourselves and allow our soul, our spirit, to guide the healing work through spreads that are self-created, through journaling, through meditation, through these aspects. So I really encourage you, if you're feeling like that you're needing that kind of support and unconditional love, to really offer it to yourself as well. That's the first step. Because if we can't offer it to ourselves, again, as we were talking about earlier, we can't really offer it to anyone else. We can't truly offer it to anyone else. We can't. It's got to be felt and experienced within first. So those are just some thoughts that I wanted to share tonight with you guys. Just some things that have come up for me throughout the day. And again, I experienced a very powerful sign today as well that's really encouraged me to to keep up the work, which is the most joyful work I've ever done in my life. So, let me know what questions come up for you guys, or if there's something you'd like to talk about a little bit more. Again, the messenger cards are an amazing deck and really, really powerful for shadow work, especially for stepping deeply into an unapologetic self-love and self-care as well. And the spirit animals and the spirit energies attached with that deck really want to assist you in doing that too. If you have signed up via email to join the workshop that's going to be happening at the end of May with the messenger cards, which is, again, a free workshop. I'm not charging for the workshop, guys. I've gotten your emails, and I will be replying to you all. So don't worry about that. I'm keeping up on it, guys. It's just about, like, there are some things that need to come together that I'm still working with. So everything is on schedule for that, and don't worry if you haven't had a reply from me yet. I've gotten your email, I have your information, and I'm going to set up the Facebook group in the near future. I don't want to set it up too far away from the workshop because then it's like becomes kind of redundant. I'd like to set it up, a week before the workshop so that we can start talking about things and then get really into it. And on the Facebook page, you will see that there will be a lot of interactive content on there too. I'll definitely be a big, participating in the page and maybe doing little videos and things like that there too. Just so you guys know that. I'm so excited about this workshop and really, really, really excited to get into talking about these cards at a deeper level. So that you can see even just the Pearls of Wisdom card really brought lots and lots of things to the surface for me. So hopefully for those of you who have spent a little time with this card now too. So I'm wishing you all joy and empowerment, and I'm sending you all much love and many blessings, and I will see you in the next video.